Hey, what is up guys? Welcome to the top 10 fan favorite synchro monsters. This is a list that we both created together. I asked you guys over on the Facebook page, so if you guys want to check that out and join in on the next discussion, which is going to be, of course, on the Azneyes monsters. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump right into the first card with Dark Strike Fighter. Man, I remember when I first saw this card, I didn't really understand like what was going on in the duel. This guy just pulsed out Rescue Cat, Summoner Monk, and just attack, and then tribute. Game over. I was like, whoa, mind blowing. Synchro is too good for me. I remember a lot of people were like, wow, this is the downfall of Yu-Gi-Oh! When this card came out. Now, obviously the guy got banned, but then he came back, but then he got nerfed so hard that people don't even want to use it. Now, this card, it was super nostalgic for any of you competitive players back in the Cat OTK days. Like, obviously that doesn't work anymore. Obviously, Dark Strike Fighter is nerfed to the ground, and then on top of that, obviously Rescue Cat is also banned. But Dark Strike Fighter was just an insane card, because if you guys are newer to Yu-Gi-Oh! We'll kind of brush up on some of these cards, and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about them. This is not just like go through the top 10 list, rate, comment, subscribe, guys. But like seriously, this card, it holds a lot of nostalgia for I think a lot of players, because it had the ability to make it so when you went for a game, you could secure it a lot more easy when, of course, you had Dark Strike Fighter. This is before the days of the Battle Fader. This is before the days of the Swift Scarecrow. When you went for Dark Strike Fighter after, you know, a big push, you had game, and that's how it was, with the exception of Gores. Gores was like the only, like, oh, I'm not gonna die, hold on, you know, it's just a prank, bro, it's just a prank, and you survive for another turn. So this card, it just holds a special place, I think everyone's heart. Like, when your opponent they would make this card, you already know, alright, I scoop it up, because they're gonna attack with everything in tribute, and then it was gonna be game over. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately maybe, if you want to look at it that way, you can only use this effect once per turn, but before, you could attack with everything, and then tribute everything, and you were good to go. So Dark Strike Fighter definitely holds a place just because of the amount of insane OTKs that this card pulled off. Next up, Stardust Dragon, one of the most favorite iconic cards, I think. Obviously in the 5Ds era, this card was like the king. But Stardust Dragon, not only was it a really good card, and it had a really good effect, but the fact that this card just came back after it negated one of the most powerful cards, whether it was Heavy Storm, heck, Dark Hole, Raigeki, anything that destroys Judgment Dragon, anything that would destroy, he's like, nope, I'm going to get rid of that, and then I'm coming back for more. And he's just overall one of those fan favorite cards. Even though it came out in a tin, this card was still pretty pricey, but it's been reprinted so many times. Had it not had those reprints, this would still be probably a really expensive card. But I just feel like this card was also a stepping stone for a lot of other players, because a lot of people would make this card before going for a more extensive play back in the day. This is back in the day before a lot of these other cards came out. But this card let you kind of secure your back row, because, you know, obviously cards like Heavy Storm were legal for quite some time when this card was seeing a ton of play. But nowadays we got a lot better cards, I understand, but still this holds a special place in I think everyone's heart, because it's still one of the coolest dragons and it's got an amazing effect. Next up, we got Branic Dragon of the Ice Barrier. Now, I really like this guy for many reasons. When this card first came out, people were like, oh my gosh, this is one of the most insane cards to come out. And it was, and it still is really strong. Heck, could you guys imagine this card in Mermaid Atlanteans today? Being able to use this effect multiple times, bounce back as many things as you want. Now, he was involved in a lot of loops. You could do a lot of different loops with Branic. But the reason why I thought he was good, in a sense, well, obviously when there's, you know, Atlanteans, that kind of changed things, because, you know, he was obviously banned at that point. But the thing that I really like about Branic is it really showed which player had card advantage. Now, card advantage was, it's a term that's still kind of used today, but I feel like with all the pendulums, card advantage doesn't mean as much as it used to back in the day when, if you guys remember back in like the zombie, the Diva Zombies days, this card was just like, oh, if you have a bunch of cards in your hand, you were able to make more extensive plays, and obviously you could OTK. Here now in Yu-Gi-Oh, we just need 2 or 3 cards, and we can OTK. Even if our opponent has full control over the board, it doesn't matter now. We have cards like Denko Sekka. I know Shaddoll Fusion's a little bit older, but still, like, Shaddoll Fusion is still like an insanely strong card. You're using cards from your deck to fusion, you get a pop card, you get a draw cards. Back in the day, you know, I feel like I'm an old guy saying this, but we didn't have that many cards that did that, where you can get a lot of advantage. I know Judgment Dragon is an exception, but he takes time to get out. So I was like, oh, just Just let me just activate one card, get Judgment Dragon out. Well, I mean, technically there's a card that searches out them, but it doesn't let you get it out immediately first turn unless you like, Soul Recharge or Charge Library and get really lucky with that. But for the most part, I like this guy. But yeah, I understand why he can't come back, because there's a lot of loops that involve bouncing cards back, reactivating bounce back cards. There's a lot of crazy stuff and shenanigans that went on with this guy, but he will still always hold a special place. So I think a lot of you players, if you guys haven't played with this card, yeah, just look up, just having like Branic loops. There's a lot of FTKs, OTKs that involve this guy, Symbols of Heritage. At one point, DeLorean, it was even used because you could basically use a lot of different cards, but a lot of those loops are essentially banned. They don't let you do them, which is a good thing. Next up, another Ice Barrier card. What's funny is like the Ice Barriers honestly have some of the best synchros in the game. But the problem is that the Ice Barriers don't actually bring them out. But Trishula, man, this card was so popular and so many people loved it. They made a Necroz deck that was able to bring out Trishula, but Trishula was still banned. Totally fair, right? But now we have Trishula back in the game as a synchro, and I think a lot of players loved this card. If you guys have not seen the infinite Trishula loops, like, what makes this card so good compared to the Necroz one is Trishula doesn't need to have a target in each location to actually resolve its effect. So before, like, you would either set everything so you had no cards in your hand, therefore the Necroz Trishula couldn't actually get the card out. But Trishula, you could go turn 1 and you could de-synchro or re-synchro for Trishula over and over, and you can make it so your opponent will start out with only one card, which is their draw phase. You get rid of all of their cards turn 1, which is obviously a pretty good effect. Again, it comes down to using loops with like Symbols of Heritage, or you could actually technically still do it with de-synchro, re-synchro, but it's going to be a little bit more inconsistent to do that. You obviously have to run other cards that are kind of sacky, so to speak. Maybe you have to put in some Cup of Aces to pull it off. But for the most part, I think this card was really, really excellent. The effect did not target, and it's got good attack, and there's an old player like you just Foolish Dandy and you go Debris Dragon and just make that card really, really easy. Back in the Plant Synchro day, and this is like this was almost essentially the boss monster of a deck, which I thought was a deck that didn't necessarily have a generic like boss monster. Like Plant Synchro, like you guys know, is one of my favorite decks, and Trishula was once it came out, it was like if it resolved its effect, you usually won the game, especially in the mirror match, because you get rid of their Glow Bulb, their Spore, something really good that they haven't used yet. But Trishula definitely one of the bosses of this gym in terms of like the synchros. Next up, Xian. I gotta put Xian on the list, guys. I know a lot of you guys don't like Six Samurais, and I will say I played Six Samurais, and I still hate Xian because this card was so annoying to deal with. If you guys have played Mirror Match with Triple Gateway, oh my gosh, this card was such a nightmare to deal with when they get like double Xian or Xian and Tria Beast. It's just like negate, and it's just, oh my gosh. It was like this deck for a long time. I'm sure a lot of you guys know. It was technically bait for a lot of younger audiences to run, and it's still like won. Like sometimes they'd be like Xian negate, and like I was just like, I can't do anything. It's just so frustrating. And this is one of like the first cards I would say that really showed me that like sometimes you can't Yu-Gi-Oh! Like especially like I said, when they get multiple Xian out, it got a little crazy. Definitely. This is back in the day, guys. This is before the days of some of the cards that we have access to now, especially with like the Pendulum monsters that just like absolutely destroy stuff really quick. But I think that this is definitely one of the fan favorite cards. Six Samurais is one of the like most played decks in terms of like what people play. I know Blackwings is also pretty high up there, and this card was like it was the boss of the Six Samurais for a long time. And Six Samurais were terrible. Well, actually at one point they were kind of seeing some play, but for the most part they didn't see too much play until the Xian and the Keyzon came out and the structure deck stuff. Very good stuff. Next up, Blackwing Armor Master. Oh my gosh, the first time I saw this guy, I was like, this card is insane. Because I was playing on the PSP, and I remember like my opponent made this, and I was like, dude, this card is so unfair. You can't get rid of it. And then this card, it's just like he's like honest that card. I never heard of him, man. He's like, I take no battle damage, and then I get to he just stays on the field, and it just frustrates me. He's like, oh, and by the way, now you have 0. Like what? 0 attack and defense. Oh my gosh, like this card, it will hold a special place in my heart, especially because when I saw this card, I was like, wow, this is OP as heck, and like, now they're looking at it, it's not that big of a deal. We just Castell this thing, things just evolve, and I think that a lot of the younger players will understand. Like, when you first saw this card, you were like, wow, this card is OP for sure. But plus, in addition to that, it's also a Blackwing, and as you guys know, Konami replens Blackwings, over and over, and they do it for a reason. It's a fan favorite card. or an archetype essentially. Heck, they're still supporting Blackwings. They get more support and they reprint them all the time. I'm waiting for that new Blackwing Towers to come out, man. But this card, it's so strong. I remember at a lot of points, people were running just Gale in general in a lot of different decks just to bring out the Blackwing Armor Master, because he's got a great effect. I mean, yeah, I know now it's not that great, but you know, this is fan favorite. We liked it back in the day. Next up, we have the Black Rose Dragon. You know what? I'm nuking the board. We restarted the game. Not necessarily Fiber Jar resets, but you know, Black Rose Dragon is just an awesome card. It has that other effect. I mean, 99% of people don't even know that Black Rose can banish a planet, make something that has 0 attack. But people don't really set cards these days in Yu-Gi-Oh! That's like back in the day. That's Pepperidge Farm remembers back in the day kind of stuff. But for the most part, Black Rose just blows up the field. I really like its effect. Plus, it's got some awesome artwork. And Akiza, one of the hottest grills in Yu-Gi-Oh! Definitely makes good use of this card. But I just like it. It's got great utility, and for a long time it was just one of like the better level 7s. Like, we had a lot of great 8 synchros, but this is just one of the greater level 7 synchros that we had. Next up, shooting Quasar Dragon. People made decks just to get out this bad boy over here. Heck, some people were able to bust out triple and double Quasar Dragon. I'll link some in the description box below if you guys want to watch some of those plays. But I remember one of my friends was telling me how he, I think Yusei or whoever brought this out, had to like rev his engine or something like that. I'm like, this is getting to the point of Devil May Cry. I put a motorcycle engine in my sword ridiculousness, which is awesome. I like kind of that crazy stuff where it's like, we're dueling on motorcycles. Like, that concept is just too cool. This card is just one of the most powerful synchros in the game. Yes, it's a little bit more difficult to get out than other things, but that doesn't matter. That didn't stop people from wanting to build a deck that just brought out one of their fan favorite cards. And I think this is definitely in the top spot for this list. This list, by the way, is in no order. I'm just like, these are just fan favorites, but this is probably like in like the top 5 for sure. Next up, Klaw Fighter. Now, a lot of you guys that haven't played back in the day, you guys might be wondering, what the heck is this green guy, green glasses looking guy over here? What is it, Frieza? It's Frieza's brother from Dragon Ball Z. Anyway, so it gains 100 attack for every warrior type monster in any graveyard. When it is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can target one warrior type monster in either player's graveyard and special summon it. So you basically got to bring him back. So basically he couldn't be destroyed by battle. He was an excellent card to destroy things like things that essentially would either reoccur, or like they would come back or something like that, or like you would be afraid like of Honest, or if they had something where like you would crash, this card would just come back. And I really liked him. You could actually use him in an Armor Arm OTK version if you want to play a certain deck like that, as long as you have the life points to pay for it. But I think this card was one of like the OG, like, oh, that card was pretty good, because back in the day, guys, we didn't have that many good synchros, and he was used in every deck. And I know a lot of budget players, man, you had 3 copies of this in your extra deck, because that's all you had, man. But I guess you had like Junk Warrior, but for the most part, this was a pretty decent card. I liked this card's utility. It had good use. Plus, it was more so a more fair card. I mean, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, you bought a Klaw Fighter, game over. Unless it was the OTK Army Arm version. But I feel like this card definitely deserves a spot, because it was at heart one of the, if you guys don't understand, like, this is a good card for some of the budget players, because as you guys know, a lot of people can't afford some of these more expensive cards in this game. But Klaw Fighter, great card, great budget card. Like I said, if you saw a kid with 3 copies in extra deck, I'd feel like, oh man, couldn't feel bad for you. But you know, Klaw Fighter, at least they had a synchro that was viable, right? Now this is one of the newer ones. This is Clearwing Synchro Dragon. This is a very awesome card. Plus it came out in Ghost Rare too. I like how its ability is really good too. So when level 5 or higher monster activates its effect, you can negate the activation and destroy it. And then once per turn during impression when effect activates that targets exactly one level 5 or higher monster on the field, you can negate it. So it's like, oh, what's a Castell, man? Pretty good stuff indeed. But I like its utility of protecting itself. Plus, it's just a decent card. I know that there's the Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, but that card's not out yet. But I feel like that card definitely would also be deserving a spot here once it does come out. But that is the list. But I have one bonus one, because it holds one place in my heart that's really good, and that is Darken Dragon. Like, this was the prize card for a long time, and I always looked at, oh my gosh, this is the ultimate card. If you guys didn't know, competitively in Yu-Gi-Oh! For a long time, there was a thing called Collude, and there's a thing called Honest, and running into them really sucked, because a lot of times you would have games, they would have like one monster, and you'd be like, okay, I got all these monsters with a bunch of attack, attack, and they go drop on us, drop clue, and you just be like, oh my gosh, I lose. But this was a very expensive card. This is technically of the prize cards, it might have been one of the cheaper ones, but nonetheless, it was still a prize card. It was expensive, and it had one of the craziest effects at that time because it had multiple reasons why it was good. So its effect, if you guys didn't know, this card actually got reprinted. The card's like $2 now. It used to be a couple hundred. But anyways, it's once per turn. You can target one monster your opponent controls. This card loses 500 attack and defense, and you send that target to the graveyard. So Stardust, I'm not destroying, man. And again, it goes back to that same point. A lot of times when you would go for game, you would be worried that they would have an Honest or a Kalu, and that happened. A lot of times, those cards would steal games. Like, you would have game, but then it was like, psych, I got a Kalu, and you're just like, it's one of the most disappointing things in the game when you have game and they have a Kalu or Honest in their hand. It sucks. I mean, Blackwing's obviously they have Whirlwind, they add it. You know it's coming, but the Honest, like, they drop the triple Honest and you just, like, you OTK yourself, man. But, yeah, this card is really, really excellent for those reasons. Plus, it's got awesome, awesome artwork. And a lot of these, as you guys will know, are dragons. I know a lot of you guys are fans of dragons. Plus, like I said, this list was created by most of you guys that are on the Facebook page as well. You'll see that we will be making an XYZ one. Alright, if you want to leave your comments in the comment section, let me know what your favorite synchro was. Maybe that wasn't covered on this list, because we did technically make this list together. If you didn't interact with me, I don't know what you doing. I guess that's your fault for not being on the Facebook page. But anyways, yeah, like I said, if you guys want to join on the Facebook page, we do a lot of these little like fan favorites and all of these fun things once in a while. But yeah, those are the list that you guys, as well as myself, created. This one's definitely mine over here. You can see why there's, I believe we did 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I did count correct. Yeah, I'm pretty bad at math, but yeah, like I said, Darken was like mine that I really wanted to add. A lot of you guys didn't mention it, but this one's just for me. If you guys want to let me know, maybe you're just top 1, top 3, top whatever, let me know in the comment section below. We will definitely be doing an XYZ one very, very soon indeed. And we need to make a pendulum one soon. But anyways, like I said, let me know in the comment section below if you felt like we missed out on any of your favorite synchros, or if you want to start listening to them from the XYZs, we can definitely go ahead and get started. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you give that like button a titty slap, and I'll see you guys next time. It's been your boy Will Smith from Independence Day, signing out.